Broadcasting from Hollywood, California, it's Grant's Rants, Hollywood Talk.
We question, did Bravo make a major PR mistake by not axing Vanderpump Rules? Cancel culture comes for Kelly Dodd and Jax, and Leah McSweeney quickly becomes a favorite. Later, which music legends could replace Confederate monuments? That and more with Richie Skye. Let the ranting begin. I am joined by longtime guest of Grant's Rants, Richie Skye, from episode 34 and 50, and we're on 158, so it's been more than a minute. Please welcome host of Reality Talk and More, Richie Skye. Welcome.
Wow. It's kind of like I'm thinking about it like this. I'm thinking about it's been a long time since I've been on this show.
Yeah. I did to look up the numbers.
What happens live to me? You know what I mean? It's been a minute since I've been on.
Well, glad to have you back. Always keeping it real. For those who don't know, we've met through AfterBuzz TV and just stayed in touch through the social media of it all. And we basically talk about a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
A lot of reality TV, a lot of gossip, whatever's left of pop culture. Not much.
I love that, whatever's left of it.
Yeah, not much, but you can find it here as well. So let's get into a few of these things. First, I just wanted to mention, since this is my first full show back in a while, I early on did not feel like it was my time to speak. So I, took some time off and just let other voices get out in the space. I just have not been up to it. So here I am. I'm going to do my best with this one, but I just want to thank all of those people that have reached out and realize something's up and that it was a good time to take a break. So thank you guys for following up with me. I've heard from so many listeners, and I'll just keep it super short, but thank you guys for all the DMs and following up with me. And thanks for listening. Hopefully we can regain some of those subscribers that, people have kind of, once you fall off of a habit, it's hard to get back on, but hopefully everybody comes back, and I love you for it. But let's get into it. I'm not here to break any news. By now, everybody knows about the Vanderpump Rules firings. Everybody knows I can't stand this show. I don't care about these people. But two irrelevant guys, just to give some context, two totally irrelevant guys were fired for racist tweets years ago that everybody knew for 6 months and was totally cool with. And then two chicks on the show were fired over publicly accusing a former African-American castmate of false stealing claims, basically racial profiling. So they're gone. All right. Done with the basics. Now they've hired a crisis manager, the two chicks, and, can you come back from this? Do we want them to come back from this? Who cares?
You know what? Here's the thing. I feel like, Stassi in particular has gotten away with her bad behavior since the beginning of this show. And Faith, who was at the center of the controversy, who was the one that Kristen and Stassi and Jax actually reported on, or sort of, I feel like they weaponized their social media against this girl for doing essentially the same thing that Kristen did to Jax when Jax was with Stassi. So to me, to villainize her in such a heinous way was, I didn't know about it at the time, to be quite honest with you. I didn't even know. All of this stuff kind of just resurfaced. Right. And I felt like, wow, and now we have the term Karen to sort of really describe that action that they took back then. And now we look at it under the lens of, look at what can happen when you try to call the police on an innocent Black woman. And it's like, oh my God, I feel like the lens has been removed from all of our eyes, and we can now see, these actions were a lot more dastardly than we actually realized at the time. And now to go back and listen and hear Stassi so carelessly speaking about it on her podcast, it's just it's gross.
It really is. And I'm glad you mentioned Jax, because that's something I looked into. He put stuff on Twitter as well, and this is what's not really out there. I mean, it's always the focus on Stassi and now the pregnancy and what Kristen said. But with Jax, I mean, he put on Twitter, what do I have here? That Faith is guilty of grand theft auto and what other things? Being going AWOL from the military and that she should be in jail. I mean, what's the difference?
Exactly. And I feel like if first of all, the network is going to make this big announcement that they are being let go the day after they make their grand public, statement about what they're going to be doing for, in terms of allocating dollars to, diversity. I just kind of felt like then you also needed to state exactly why these people were being let go. And then why wasn't Jax included in that?
The whole thing couldn't have been handled more poorly. I mean, you're used to this, I'm sure. These networks, they protect their talent. This is what's happening with Lisa Vanderpump. She'll be the last one to go down for this, or the last one to have to speak to it, because they'll blame everybody else involved before they have to go and, smear the name of Lisa Vanderpump, who I already think is garbage. But I mean, as far as the best PR move here would have been to cancel the show. It's creatively dead. It's not going anywhere. I think it's lousy, but also now it's a toxic brand surrounded by a lot of controversy. It's not like it's the number one show. And I was talking to a friend about this. With Roseanne, that was the number one show, and it was not creatively dead. And they were able to pivot and recreate that show in a new way. I don't watch the show, but it worked. I don't think that it's going to work with the show. It's just not in the place. So they should have just ended it, and that way it was not directed towards any one person without holding people accountable. It was just handled so poorly. It's just like, they're not coming back next season. That's how it was handled.
Exactly. And I just feel like, it kind of is like a dissatisfying cliffhanger. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, well, what? Yeah. And so now we have, and the interesting thing about this, and I don't know if you maybe picked up on this, is that all of this is happening literally, honestly, and I agree with what you were saying about they could have just canceled it, because we're at a point in time where in history where a lot of these shows have had to go on pause. So to cancel the show at this point in time, after a season of really poor, just a poor critique of the season, just in general, because they've tried to integrate these new people in with the cast to sort of take this in a new direction. Didn't work. And now you have this, plus with the pandemic, you have productions on a lot of shows on pause. It would have been a great time to just say, you know what, we're going to be pulling the plug on this show. There have been too many incidents with some of the most popular cast members on this show. And I feel like now is a good time to pivot and turn into some new directions.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I completely agree. At the very least, they could have done what they pulled with the Real Housewives of Miami and just not put the show in production indefinitely. There was never a formal cancellation. They started using that word years later because it was obvious the show was gone. But I mean, if this show could have been shelved at the very least if they wanted to, save Lisa Vanderpump, any embarrassment, God forbid. No, it should. Just from a PR perspective, it's a mess. I don't know what they expect to get from the show moving forward. It's a toxic brand. I don't really think people are going to flock to it anymore. They built and gave the whole show a hero edit to Stassi, knowing very well all of these things. None of this is new. None of the things we're talking about have recently surfaced. This has all been out there. And, you've got this terrible statement from Lisa Vanderpump. Champagneandshade.com said, Lisa, this is the title of the article, Lisa Vanderpump's meaningless statement. And I was like, oh, now you're speaking my language. So basically, the incident happened that we're talking about with Stassi and Kristen in 2018. The tweets from the two guys were from 6 months. Well, they were from years ago, but they came to light 6 months ago. People knew about them for 6 months. So that's inexcusable. And now she breaks her silence. After all that, now she's deciding to talk. And, this article says, Lisa's need to have a hit TV show outweighed her moral obligations to protect someone from unnecessary hate. And I think that sums up a lot of it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, even what's also telling was her statement at the Vanderpump Rules reunion when they actually brought up the whole controversy surrounding the tweets from the guys from several years ago.
I didn't watch it because I knew it would. I don't care for her. Lisa Vanderpump and The View light a fire in me, so I just knew not to watch because I heard it wasn't good. I heard the statement was ignorant as hell, and I just was not up for it this week.
It was. She said something to the effect of, "Well, if I got rid of every one of you who did something wrong, I wouldn't have anyone left working for me." And it's like, well, there's a clear sign here that this thing that you have going is broken.
Yeah.
And versus pivoting towards Vanderpump Gardens in Las Vegas, to me, which would have been the smarter business move, because to be quite honest with you, a lot of these shows, after you hit the 8th season mark, they kind of can have a tendency to go downhill. Not all, but some. And I feel like Vanderpump Rules had just kind of run out of steam, and it would have been way better for her to pivot to Vegas. It makes sense.
Here's the thing. She is celebrated constantly. This woman, she's got the star in, what the hell is it? Palm Springs. She's, won numerous awards for donating to the Trevor Project and all these other things that she's done. But, I think actions speak a lot louder than words. And her biggest platform, which is this TV show, there is zero representation. And that's the problem. That's the problem I have with her right now.
Yeah. But you know what's funny? You've been pretty critical of her for quite some time now. Like even when she was on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and I think at the time I didn't get it because I feel like we all knew she was behind the scenes pulling the strings, right?
Yeah.
And I was actually fine with it because I felt like it was bringing energy to the show that was needed, because that show at some point needs a villain. But at the same time, it's like once it became clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer that she was really kind of behind the scenes pulling the strings, so much so that they pulled the wool back, I feel like, wow, like, your assessments all this time were correct.
Well, I am consistent in my equal opportunity hating. No, I just feel like if I have like any like psychological gift, I don't know however you want to put it. It's just that I can read people really well. I can read people around like the first meeting. I know who's genuine. I seldomly, if ever, am duped by people. And I had her number. Once I figured out the game, I could then see it very clearly. And, it's also been repeated through the husband as well, with when they had the car crash through Sir earlier this year, or Pump, and it was, we want to get as much publicity out of this as possible. Like, it's just things like that stack up against a person in my eyes, and it just continues to prove what I've been led to believe all along. And that happens. Unfortunately, it's hard to get off that list with me. But I mean, no, I'm just honest. I mean, that's how I feel. I just following the breadcrumbs. That's it.
Well, that's a very East Coast attitude, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Last thing before we get off this topic, I just want to point out that Andy Cohen ran from this one. He said, I have nothing to do with it. All I do is host the reunion. I'm not executive producer, which I thought he had a credit on that show, and I did look it up. He does not, according to IMDb. I don't know about the air shows, but, he was real quick to run away from that controversy. Sorry.
He does with the Housewives shows, not that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it's smart. I mean, I wouldn't want to be at all associated with the controversy either. I'd make it very clear. But also, I mean, he's made quite a name for himself interviewing them over the years. So, I don't know. I mean, you can't have it, but you can't have it both ways. I mean, it's like you're either in it or you're not, and they're on your show. So, you know them.
Yep. And literally the fun thing about this is now I look at this and I'm like, how Kris Jenner of this whole situation with Stassi to announce her pregnancy at this point in time. And I'm just like, oh my God, we're not going to be able to get away from this girl ever.
No.
Ever.
Yeah. It's going to be officially like disgraced Vanderpump Rules star Stassi Schroeder does this, does that, does this. Yeah. Cause I'm sure she gets clicks. I mean, she's all over Daily Mail. So and they have exclusives. So there's something there. Now I want to mention that the crisis manager that Stassi and Kristen have allegedly is the same one that Dorinda Medley of New York Housewives has just hired because her public image is in the toilet as well. Not for racism though, just for being a horrible, mean person this season.
Oh my God, Dorinda! Dorinda consistently, season after season after season, has been one of my favorite.
Same.
Ladies on the Real Housewives of New York. And even this season, listen, her treatment of Tinsley to me is despicable, disgusting, gross. Like I have no respect for it. But she's still one of my favorite characters outside of that. I just don't know what it is with this situation with Tinsley that grinds her gears so much after the 4 years that Tinsley's been on this show. The end of last season and this season, it's like she's had an axe to grind with her, and I really just don't understand why.
It's really gross, and she keeps doubling down on it. I mean, we all have our moments with people where we get pissed at them, and then it's like, you come around and you don't continue to double down on it the way she has. I don't know what this crisis manager can do for her. She said and did these things on camera months ago. The show is airing. Of course she can, come out and say she a changed person, as I assume she will, and hopefully she's in a better place. But I just don't know what a crisis manager can do with the behavior that she's displaying on camera. I don't know. What can you say? I mean, how many statements can you make?
Take the phone away, shut down the Twitter for a second, because at the end of the day, Dorinda has been triple doubling down, if that's even a term, on Instagram and Twitter with regards to Tinsley, just making really crass comments and stuff like that. So much so that even the other night when Tinsley was on Watch What Happens Live, she said that Dorinda claimed that Tinsley blocked her, but Tinsley's like, I never blocked her. She blocked me.
Which I believe. I believe Dorinda would block her. I don't think Tinsley would be bothered. She's done. Why would she be bothered?
That's my thought too.
Yeah.
And I never thought that Tinsley was like the strongest housewife, but in the grand scheme of things, she's harmless. And she had a story that I felt like naturally came to a close. And it would have been nice to see all of the ladies kind of rally around her at the end of that to kind of send her off.
There was a lot of fakery, like, oh, I just have a sudden about face and suddenly care about you again, and suddenly I'm proud and happy for you, by, Ramona and Sonia, at least. I thought it was really classless that Dorinda did not make any type of an appearance. I don't know how much of that was production related, but that's a really good key advice from you right now, to get off the phone, stop posting, get off YouTube. We don't need a recap from you every week. In a defense, she is on the wrong side of history with this one, because Tinsley is her image is beloved right now. People are loving her. I enjoy her. Dorinda's wrong for that one.
Absolutely wrong. And I think that it almost naturally just gave Tinsley the hero edit. She's never had a bad edit, but it just boosted her, I think, even more so with the way that Dorinda came after her.
I agree. It only made her look better, because here you've got this girl who's finding her fairy tale ending, finally happy, and this older woman completely judging her and being hateful because she found happiness. I mean, you're not going to win that, Dorinda. Just admit it. You look like the evil stepmother over here. But
she does.
I wish she didn't, but it's her own fault. I'm sorry. I just want to mention, I didn't plan to talk about this, but I have such a love, fastly growing for Leah. Love her so much on this show.
Oh my God. She is a breath of fresh air on this show. She really is.
I love she talk about East Coast real. Her love for Little Kim sold me early on, because I was like, oh, I know the type of chick this is. I love that. So I was all in from the start. But now I'm really seeing her. Really, I'm getting to know her more and more. We saw the scenes this week with her daughter and the ex, and her with the dead plant. And I was just like, this is so relatable. I enjoy her.
I absolutely love her. I think she's probably one of the best additions. And if you're going to get rid of Bethany, who just, kind of dominated on that show, I feel like Leah was a good start, and I feel like now they need to up the casting for next season to bring in someone else who has a similar vibe to Leah.
Yeah.
Maybe a little different, but still that same energy.
Agreed. Did you see this moment on Watch What Happens Live with Candy Burris? It was quite an emotional moment for Watch What Happens Live.
Yeah,
Let's give some context. So
okay, yeah.
What exactly happened was, it might have been the after show or the actual show. I watched on YouTube. It's all the same. But she said that her and her husband Todd are struggling to explain the current situation that we're in. What do you even say? I mean, to a 4-year-old. And, her son dressed as a police officer on career day and has asked, are the police bad guys? And it's such a loaded question, especially for a 4-year-old. And she got quite emotional. It was a nice moment, though. It was a real moment.
Yeah, I feel like, what I always think about when I see stuff like this is that when I see any type of, there have been a lot of postings with like little kids encountering police officers and it being in such an emotional moment because you see some images that are so heartwarming and they kind of make you feel like, the future can be in good hands. Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense? Depending on how we describe this moment to our children, mm-hmm. and I feel like in that moment, that could be what Candy's thinking. Depending on how we describe this moment is how they could change the course of history at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't envy her position at all because it's like, what do you like? Yeah, you're going to change that child's perception for the rest of his life, no matter what you say.
Yeah. And it's hard too, because now it's like, it's something that we all talk about a lot. I feel like especially within the Black community now, like, how do you engage with police officers
I bet.
when you encounter them? And I think there's always been a little bit of like fear and trepidation there because you just don't know what the circumstances are going to be. But now it's even scarier because something as simple as, a simple traffic stop or, mistaken identity could be potentially life threatening at this point. So how do you describe that to a kid? I have no idea. And
that's why I say it was a nice moment at the top, but only because it's like a very real moment, as I said afterwards, but also like it's relatable to so many people watching, especially fans of Candy. I feel like, they really look up to her, as do I. I mean, I think she's such a brilliant businesswoman. And I'm interested in hearing her perspective because I know it's going to come from an informed place. And, I think it's an important conversation to have. I'm glad they went there on Watch What Happens Live and they didn't ask her, what she thought of Portia's boobs at the reunion. Like finally some substance.
And you know what I hope, though? And I hope that we see a lot of this play out on the next season of not only Real Housewives of Atlanta, but on a lot of these shows, because I feel like you have to address the elephant in the room with regards to not only the pandemic, but also what we're kind of dealing with right now. And I think that will help ground some of these shows in a lot more realness.
Yeah.
Moving forward, I'm hoping that's what we see.
It's worth adding into the conversation, even if it's in a small way. I mean, yeah. I doubt the Housewives are going to be too welcoming of that because so many will get canceled if I think they give their real point of view. But it's also an opportunity, as Teresa Giudice says, it's a learning lesson. So, maybe they can get something out of it.
It is a learning lesson.
Is that even a real thing? Is that that's not even real grammar, right? A learning lesson.
In Teresa speak.
Yeah, that's Teresa speak. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about Kelly Dodd. Oh, God. More stuff with her. But also, some of these monuments are being dumped. Not a moment too soon. And there's some ideas for replacement. So we'll have some fun with that in a moment. Now this.
You're listening to Grant's Rants. Subscribe and spread the word. There are a lot more rants to come. Listen anytime on all major podcasting platforms. And now, back to the show.
And we're back on the podcast. I'm talking with Richie Skye. Welcome back.
Hey.
Where are you calling in from? You still in Florida?
I'm in Miami, yep.
Nice.
The sunshine.
Oh, I miss the East Coast so much you don't even know. And now I feel like I can't leave because of these travel bans. If you come from a state that's quarantined, which, I mean, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, stay in California right now.
Unfortunately, I'm still here. Anyway, let's talk about Kelly Dodd, OC Housewives. She's apologizing every week for something, and it's getting really tiring. I mean, where is the breaking point here? When can you not apologize? When is apologizing just not going to cut it anymore?
I feel like we've about reached the end of our ropes with her.
Yeah, you know.
To be honest with you, you know what this is? I feel like Kelly is another example of a person who has been rewarded from her bad behavior
100%.
She stepped onto the scene. And granted, at first I thought it was okay. Now I know we all remember this moment with Heather Dubrow fake crying on her way home, describing how vile Kelly was from her interaction with her at a sushi restaurant.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I feel like looking back on it, maybe she wasn't too far off the mark. Maybe there was more to that scene that we didn't see. There
could be comments that never made it to air. We know that they protect these people. That's their job, I guess. When it comes to Kelly, I have probably numerous hours of tape of me over at AfterBuzz and on this show itself, you know, enjoying Kelly, laughing at and with her. But I've
laughed.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I have laughed a lot. I literally before this, let me spill a little tea, right?
Sure.
We were sitting here, me and my fiance. I was watching Real Housewives of New York on Hulu, and then for some reason at the end, it automatically went back to the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion from the last season. And there was all this talk about Kelly hitting Shannon over the head while she had the bowl on her head. And I'm thinking to myself, she was so wrong for that, but it was so funny. So I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it as well.
But that's okay, because that's okay. I think it's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, we are watching this for entertainment. I'm not here to scrutinize and try to learn anything. But at the same time, while I've given Kelly a lot of credit, I want to be honest that I think that she really has tanked the show. And I blame her for a lot of it because, like you said, she has been rewarded for bad behavior. And producers know that people want to see what she's going to do and say and make mistakes on camera. But with that, she has not elevated the show. It started out very differently from the time that she started to where we are now, which I believe is unrecognizable. It's just we don't even have anyone near the caliber of Heather Dubrow as far as like income and class. I mean, it's just not the same show. And I think they went all in on Kelly, and we enjoyed it. But I think they pushed it too far. And now, if they have to fire this chick, they have no season because I don't even know who's left on it other than Emily. I mean, and Shannon floating in the background.
If they fire Kelly, which Kelly, I feel like Kelly should be a little concerned. But if they fire Kelly, they're going to have to bring back Tamara. Heather has said that she would come back if Kelly wasn't on the show. I feel like you would have to bring in Tamara again and give her the paycheck that she wants and bring in Heather. And, I feel like you may even have to reach all the way down into the bottom of the barrel and pick up Gretchen.
Oh, she's there with her hand up waiting. She is ready, willing, and able. She had that baby. She's ready to go. She's ready to fill Bravo's coveted young mom slot.
Honestly,
that's all they care about.
Because that's the OC that, to be quite honest with you, that I really enjoy.
And I recognize that OC. Like, I see it. I remember it. That was the show that I fell in love with. I'm not invested in Gina, who we can't see her kids or her husband or anybody in her life. I mean, it's stupid.
I'm not either. And her platinum hair, I just can't do it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they doubled down on Kelly and they took the show with them. So for those who are questioning, well, what is she apologizing for? Well, she's been traveling all over the place during the pandemic. not wearing the mask. Yeah, not wearing a mask. She made some really crazy comments. One of them, TMZ caught on camera how she doesn't like black guys and made a look of disgust on her face when she was talking about it. Not a good look for anybody, but I mean, especially with you, who's probably, I believe, on thin ice. I don't know what it's going to take for her to go any deeper into this hole, but fans are calling for her firing, which is, fans are very loud right now for a lot of different reasons. And she even referred to COVID as God's way of thinning the herd. Well, someone's watching Fox News.
To me, I just kind of feel like, I don't know. I wonder what the network is going to do because, as I'm being really quite honest, I mean, do we fire the housewives who make problematic statements or commit problematic acts? And which is worse? And is there one that is worse?
I think now, today, I think you got to be able, whatever you do, whether it's an action or a statement, I don't think you have any choice but to do the work and to educate yourself in a public way, to be able to say, look, I'm reading up on this. I'm learning why I was wrong. I'm meeting with people. I'm taking classes. I think if you're a public figure right now, you have to do your best. An apology isn't going to cut it.
And so then, not to sort of divert, but like with a Brandy Redmond who, does the IG live where she's imitating Asian people. And then when people called her out, she kind of doubled down on that she was having fun with it and to really tell her how funny she was. And then for her to go into, I'm going to a wellness retreat to take care of these issues. I didn't know there was a wellness retreat for racism.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. That's like for her to unplug and sit in a room quietly. That's not doing the work. That's not educating yourself. That's not changing your perspective. That's going on vacation.
Yeah, but, at the end of the day, they get rid of, Leanne for the problematic statements that she made on this show. But you've got to, if you're going to do one that way, I feel like you have to do the other that way. Well,
yeah. I mean, I do agree. It is questionable. And I think, again, that's like, well, Brandy and Stephanie are package deals, so we don't want to lose them. So it's like, that's the problem. That's where we're at. That's the problem. It's a double standard.
I don't know. I feel like Dallas is going to have to do a major revamp as well.
Yeah. None of the shows are in great creative shape except maybe like New Jersey. Like, I don't know. They're all kind of messy right now.
They are. I'm what I'm really interested in seeing is Salt Lake.
Yeah. Where is that? What is going on with that?
I mean, I'm hearing that it won't be out until like after probably like maybe September, October at this point.
Oh God. Well, wake me up when it's time. Yeah. Forget it. Let's talk about these Confederate monuments. They're being dumped all over the place. Why are they even still there? It's shocking to me. But Trump has called them beautiful monuments, American heritage of winning. They represent the South who lost. So, again, Fox News 101 here. These are, in my opinion, these are symbols of white supremacists in the eyes of the public. It should not be there. But there's a petition out there for them to replace some of these. And so we'll have a little fun with this. I signed a petition. I'm so proud of myself. Over 20,000 signatures deep for the state of Louisiana for Britney Spears to be featured on a monument.
I saw that. I saw somebody say that there was a petition going around. I didn't see the actual petition, but I was like, is this serious? Is this a real thing? Because if so, I would be here for it.
Yeah. And people have made an argument. It's not just like a joke. They said that she's inspired many, especially those from Louisiana, and she's made countless donations for hurricane relief in the state. So she, has given back to her community. She's a public figure. She's an icon. So I don't see the problem.
I don't see it either. Listen, to me, it could be anybody at this point. Just take those things down. Okay? Take them down.
They have no choice but to take those down. It's ridiculous. I can't believe they're still up. Dolly Parton is they say she may replace a KKK leader in the Tennessee Capitol. Now, what in the world is a KKK leader doing on display? Period. I don't even know what else to say.
You know, it's so crazy. We hear so many things these days about how, the KKK being in cahoots with, different sectors of the cops and stuff like that. So I don't know. All of this stuff is very scary to me. And why is the KKK not considered a terrorist organization? That's what I don't understand.
You could never make an argument against why it isn't. For me, I would never understand why it would not be. I don't understand why it's not already. Never mind, has never been considered.
Exactly.
Yeah, and never mind this guy's face on display. I think there's like more than one too. How is this even a thing? For those who need, and I need some type of glimmer of hope. I mean, I'll take anything at this point. I'll be honest with you, it's been terrible. But 22,000 signatures have been signed to replace Confederate statues with Britney, and that just makes me smile. I need something, anything. But at the end of the day, it would be a hoot to see, Britney in bronze. But I think we need to diversify some of these monuments. I don't know why they all have to be, white people. I think we can expand and represent there as well. And that's what I would like to see more than Britney. But, it's not up to me.
Yeah, I think it's a new day at this point. I feel like I always hear people talk about, and I'm not necessarily, I don't know. There's this thing that they call like the Great Awakening, I guess, in either philosophy or something like that. But they talk about this happening right now. And it's just like, we're in a different space now where I feel like these monuments do need to change. They do need to better reflect, where we are as a country now and what we look like now.
Exactly.
And what we look like, melting pot of different, races, ethnicities, colors, textures, so we have all of these different things. Let's replace all of these things that are, pretty much monuments to a dark past. You know what I mean?
Very much so, yeah.
With monuments that really do sort of mean something to people at this point.
Yeah, and why don't all these monuments have to pay tribute to the Civil War? I mean, hasn't there been enough things in this country that have happened since then? Why do we have to keep celebrating that era? Diversify, get rid of them, phase them out. They're done. A lot more history has occurred between now and then.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I did not expect to get super political, but every topic that we hit is addressing the reality, and I would be a fool to sit here on this podcast and talk about Kylie Jenner and Forbes. I think it's important that we Bravo-tize and pop culturize our topics, but around what's really happening. And I'm just happy that we're able to have a civil discussion and mention all these things and have a little fun and still shade Vanderpump. That's the most important thing. Oh, man. Well, before I go, I have been so vocal that I have not been watching Beverly Hills Housewives, but I've peeked at it. It's not horrible. It's not great. But you know what? I think I'm going to go all in and watch because I need to turn the news off. It's got me so angry and so effed up. I need to turn something else on. And I think for me, it's going to be Beverly Hills Housewives.
I will tell you that, I've been a fan of Beverly Hills since episode 1, season 1. And, seasons 1, 2, and 5 are my absolute favorites, but this is probably the 4th favorite, actually. So,
okay.
Action is fast paced. It moves like This season moves like Real Housewives of New York used to move.
Okay. You know what? I mean, I totally trust your point of view because we speak the same language on this. So I'm listening to what you're telling me.
Absolutely. So I think you'll get some joy out of seeing. You'll get some joy, and then I think you'll start to get some anger over what you see on the show. But it's actually quite compelling.
Well, I think I'll always be a little angry because the show drives me crazy. I think there's so many missed opportunities, but I think I got to do it. I've completely overdosed on 90 Day Fiance, which I'm still enjoying, but I need I need to mix it up here. And New York being off for like a month, it gives me time to watch and catch up on Beverly Hills. So I guess that's what I'll be doing. And I'm just going to go into it with an open mind, and hopefully I can bring some commentary to the podcast because I know I get a lot of questions about it. And why not? I'll tell you what I think about Denise Richards. Sure.
Can I say something about that? I think it's going to me, it surprised me that I'm so passionately on Denise Richards' side at this point.
Is it a Denise versus Kyle thing? Because I can understand that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Something is going Kyle this season, and I think you'll see it for yourself, but I will be interested in hearing what you have to say about it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to jump on despite screaming about it forever, but I have my reasons, okay? I have my reasons. I'm desperate. I'm truly desperate, so this is why I'm going there. Oh, man, I just did not. No one thought we'd be in this position in June of 2020, and so I'm having to do things I never thought I'd do, like that. All right, well, this was lovely. So great to hear your perspective. I miss talking to you in person around the AfterBuzz table about these things. I truly do.
I do too. Oh my God, I miss it so much.
Yeah, well, at least we have this. So thank you for coming on the show. And is there anything you want to plug, promote, mention?
No, just other than, if you guys can subscribe to my YouTube page, we are nearing 100,000 subscribers. We're at almost 96,000 as of today. So I'm really excited about this. It's been a year since we started this, and I just feel like I can't believe it's grown so fast, but I'm extremely happy, and I treat it like a job, and I'm there every day, Monday through Friday. So whoever wants to, hear about the latest with any of the Housewives shows and other reality TV shows can come follow me there, or follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DJ Richie Skye.
And you've got great SEO because you pop up whenever I'm searching for something like Vanderpump Rules on YouTube, or something related to Housewives, there you are.
Yes.
So you're killing that. And you can pat yourself on the back because you have more subscribers on YouTube than Britney Spears has signatures to replace the Confederate statues.
Winning.
Yes. Good for you. All right, everyone. I love you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this, and at least it made you laugh and forget the world for a few minutes. I'll be back with more rants. No more rundowns, I guess, for RHONY for a while, but that will return. That will return when the show comes back on Bravo. I love you for listening, and as always, I'll be back with more rants.
This has been Grant's Rants. Support the Rants on Patreon at patreon.com/Grant's Rants. Follow Grant on Twitter and Instagram at It's Grant's Rants. Cover art created by RHONY. Original theme music by Alexander Arntzen. The Grant Michael Collection.